My treasure vault for a colorless. I'm going to use that 3 mana and I'm going to cast Beast Within, targeting your Zobendro.
Alright, I'll tap my Exotic Orchard, tap my Reflection of Kiki-Jiki, make a copy of Oracle of Moldiah, and then sacrifice both of those, paying 4 life to the Zobendro, and make him indestructible.
So you've got 3 blockers now, right?
It'll actually be 4 because I still get the 3/3.
Okay, so I'll tap my 6 remaining lands, play this Rampaging Baloth. Then I'll play this Misty Rainforest, crack it, pay 1 life, and go find a land.
My turn now?
No, I'll make 2 4/4s, draw 3 cards, tap the Crashing Drawbridge to give all my creatures haste, and then swing out for lethal damage.
Well, one question for Mr. Carney. Do you feel more comfortable in Brussels than in Washington? Thank you.
So, you want to start?
Well, in terms of relative comfort, well, it's very hot in Washington right now and very humid. I'm sure the dinner will be better, with all due respect to our American friends. It'll be better than it would be in Ottawa. The dinner will be better tonight. Look, I would say in terms of the terms and what we discuss around an economic partnership, we have similar views in terms of the importance of labor standards. We have similar views in terms of addressing sustainability and building sustainability. I think we have similar views in terms of how we develop a true partnership in matters of defense. And I'll add one other point of, I don't want to say this is comfort, but it's effectiveness with respect to Ukraine. The European Union is preparing its 18th sanction package, a very significant package of sanctions. We've just released our latest sanctions, financial sanctions, against Russia, against the Shadow Fleet, against enablers of the Russian regime. We have just committed additional financing to the Ukrainian government and additional military assistance to Ukraine. As President von der Leyen mentioned, we will be participating, and the foreign minister is here, participating in the reconstruction conference that Italy is leading on behalf of the European Union in a few weeks. Because we know, and this is the other element of comfort, that we will stand up and defend these fundamental values: international law, territorial integrity, the rights of state, and democracy as represented in Ukraine. So yes, we take comfort from that alignment, and it is a very effective partnership as a consequence.
Soho Theater, please make it loud for Josh Johnson!
I don't know if I'm the only one who cares, but have y'all seen what's happening with Duolingo? Okay, in case you're not familiar, Duolingo is an app where you learn other languages, supposedly. It's basically this app where they gamify learning another language through like quizzes and little mini games, little mini quests and stuff. And I'm not gonna say it doesn't work, but everybody I know that uses Duolingo still speaks English to me. Just throwing that out there. And you know, over time it was getting more expensive, and over time there would be mistakes that were in the games and in the programs, which were kind of, I don't know how you would put it, but basically it was kind of forgivable because you felt like you were getting that real-time help through a person, you know? So then a person would see through comments, oh, this is messed up, oh, let me fix it, it actually should have been like this. And you were really getting like a sort of language learning community going under Duolingo, which is the point, you would think, to learn a new language, to talk to more people. It'd be kind of weird to learn a language just to be like, I did it. And no one will ever know. I'm just gonna go to whole countries, know what they say, and then not tell anybody. I have the power. I only think like a psychopath would do that. Like I've seen those viral videos of people being like in Japan, and no one thinks that this black person in Japan speaks Japanese, so then they like are recording themselves or they're streaming, and then someone says something about them, and then they're like, boom, I know Japanese, and the person's like, what? How? it. You know, that actually would have been a fire ad for Duolingo back in the day. It's just like, you have you like eating at a at like a fast food spot, everyone around you roasting you, everybody getting one in, like, and the back of his head, look at it, look, I can see right through it. Does he even know he got that bald spot? The bald spot fighting for his life is shiny. It's like a flashlight. And then you bounce back, you're like, I know French. What? I'm so embarrassed. I was being rude in undercover. Duolingo. But no, it's not what happened. You know, people were slowly learning these languages over time. And learning is like a hard... It's a hard way to describe it because it's not as if the language was fully being taught. It's not like the same thing as sitting in a class, being taught the tenses, being taught the situations to say certain things versus other things. It's more just like, did you spell we right? That's a little French. Have some of that. And so, over time, you see Duolingo also get this internet presence that's like, their socials team is very like in vogue. You know, they get in there, they're funny in the comments, spicy comments too. Sometimes they got a quick jab back whenever somebody tries to trash Duolingo. And I don't know how I feel about it. If I'm being honest, it's like through our tax systems and through the economy, we already treat these companies like people. I don't know if I want to pretend that they're also interesting. Do you know what I mean? Like when I see a Twitter handle for a company, I don't want to be like, oh, they're so moody today. I can't believe Microsoft's so angry. You know, because it's not like it's not an individual, it's a company. And there are individuals making that company feel like your friend, but they're not your friend. They're not your friend at all. And then they do this move, which is wildly unpopular, where they release a statement where they say, we're going to be an AI-first company, which is a interesting title to give yourself. You could have said customer first, you could have said teacher first, and you could have not said anything. Because people were already noticing, they were like, I think there's like less people working there now. I feel like some of my answers don't get answered in the right way. Some of the lessons even feel a bit like ChatGPT-ish, you know? And then they came out and said it. They're like, look, we're gonna use AI and you're gonna learn just the same as you've been learning. And I had friends who were like, I'm not learning anything already. And honestly, what's the fun of using Duolingo if you could just use any sort of like OpenAI, any sort of AI program to make your own learning course? If it's AI, then what's special about it? And so, you see people, big backlash. Every time they even tweet, post anything, people are like, was this written by AI? You know? And it gets to the point where I don't really know if they were hacked or not, or if that's just like part of the marketing scheme, but basically they took down everything because they were getting trashed. Because, you know, they want to be expensive, they want to hire less people, they want to essentially disregard, disrespect, or just get rid altogether of their teachers and have you pay, I think, $20 a month to not learn French. And so people were rightfully upset. And so they take everything down, and then they post it again, and they post it as the is it a frog? I mean, I think it's a bird. It's an owl? So they posted with a guy in a owl costume, and that guy was using like the deep, distorted voice, talking about how the elites ruined Duolingo, and I was like, yeah, but aren't you? What's happening? And then I think it was the CEO that even came out, and instead of giving some sort of statement that basically says, hey, look, yes, we're going to be using AI, but we're still going to have our teachers, and our teachers are going to just use AI for some of the menial tasks, but you'll still be talking to a teacher. Instead of reassuring the customers at all, he kind of just doubled down and was like, look, the AI going to be better than teachers anyway. Then people got really mad. And I think what's happening here is what's happening all the time. Teaching is hard. Teaching is very difficult. And if you love something and you love it enough to teach it, that to me is amazing. I don't know if I know anything well enough to teach it. And I don't know if I have the patience to convey those ideas in an efficient enough way that you know what I know when I'm done talking. That's scary. I would never try to teach. I don't know, even things that I'll admit right now, even things that I'm pretty sure about, I don't know enough about to teach. I believe in climate change, but if you asked me about climate change when I got done talking about climate change, you wouldn't believe in climate change. When I got done talking, you'd be like, everything he said sound made up. Because teaching is very, very difficult, and we forget. From every perspective, teaching is difficult. It's difficult in and of itself, alone, to be in your head, have the idea, convey the idea in a way that gets through someone else's head. You gotta get past all the video games and all the crushes and all the, just to be like, math! That's already hard enough. Never mind the fact that, like, kids are difficult. I'm not just talking about, like, junior high or all of them. I remember being difficult as a kid. I wasn't trying to be difficult. I wanted to learn the thing. It was not getting in. I was fighting it. I didn't even know it. Sometimes I'd even be a little pompous, you know? Like, I'll admit it, as a little kid, give me some grace. As a child, I was a flat earther. When I was little, I was a flat earther because, you know, my teacher tried to teach me about the globe and all the countries around the globe and stuff like that, and how the earth was round. I was like, Just gonna throw this out there for you. Feels pretty flat to me. I know I haven't been all over the world, but never been, you know, sideways. So I think it's pretty flat. Sorry to embarrass you while you're talking to the whole class, but... And then my teacher very graciously was like, oh, yeah, this is sadly a common misconception. It's not actually flat. The earth is round. I'm like, oh, huh. Not to contradict you, ma'am, but if the earth is round, why are all the maps flat? Truly, as an 8-year-old, I thought I had a mic drop moment. I was like, I mean, I rest my case. That's up there with you. You the one projected that thing, so, I mean, maybe I should have the chalk. I'm just saying. And then my teacher pulled out a globe. Because it's difficult. And look, I'm not a parent. And I can't imagine what it's like to be a parent the same way I can't imagine what it's like to be a teacher. But I see some of the friction that parents have with teachers sometimes, whether they think that they could do it better or that they think it must not be their kid, it must be the teacher. And I thought that all would have been settled through COVID. You remember that time where everybody was alone with their kids? To see how well they sort of grasped everything? You know, I don't think enough teachers got an apology. I feel like 2021, you should show up to your kid's school and be like, I didn't know he just wouldn't take the words in. Like, I really thought it was you this entire time, but nah, he hates science. That's his kryptonite. Oh. it's just, it's also hard because I think the way that we look at teaching is as the obstacle as opposed to as the help, right? Like even now, if someone tries to teach you something, there's some reluctance there sometimes. What it used to be, you're a kid, and these adults, they don't know what they're talking about, and try to teach me something. And then you become an adult, and you're like, why do you think you can teach me something? We're the same age. And then you get older, and then someone younger than you has something to say, and you're like, why do you think you can teach me something? You don't even know about the world, right? So I think that a lot of people, myself included, sometimes have a reluctance to learning in general, especially because there's a sort of like hubris around getting an idea. When you get an idea, you feel like you got it. I snatch that. You know? It's like when people say that they're self-taught, but then they tell you how they taught themselves. No, I went to my friend's house, he built a whole deck. And I was like, that's incredible. I didn't know you did construction. He's like, I don't. I was like, how'd you build a deck? He's like, oh, self-taught. And I was like, how did you teach yourself to build a deck? And he's like, oh, I just watched this guy on YouTube for like 75 hours or whatever. I had to watch some of the videos over and over again because I was scared I was going to mess up my cuts and everything. But then I got it, yeah. Then he taught you. That's not self-taught at all. 75 hours and listen to some other dude talk. He might as well have been here. No, because there's a deep respect that I have for teachers because they cared about something so much that they were willing to learn more about it than they ever probably had to, just to teach it to someone else, to share the thing that they love. My math teacher loved math so much that she went to more school for math. And then she came back, got a teaching degree, and then came back and taught a lower math than she understands. She has to dumb down math every day just to bring it to me. And just to try to give me some math, she went through all that. And I don't know how we did it. It's kind of incredible that all over the world, we somehow managed to not pay teachers enough and not give them enough, like in every country, no matter where you go. And so, I bring it up because I think that I'm not a teacher, but I think the thing that teachers fall in love with is like that light bulb. Watching someone get something that you understand, that you're giving to them, and then it clicks. And they're like, oh. Whether they're a little kid, little bitty kid. I remember a teacher at school is who really taught me how to tie my shoes. Like really put it together for me in my head. Obviously, my grandma tied my shoes and would show me how to do it while she was doing it. My mom would tie my shoes. My dad would tie my shoes. But she was the one that was like, no, we're going to practice. I'm just going to tie it. We're going to practice. And so then she tied it because I ran up to her after recess. I had been falling, right? I've been tripping hard. I was doing that, that Looney Tunes drag where your legs go up? Because I was getting a good start, and then I'd step on a lace, and I'd go, whoa! And so, ran up to her. I was like, hey, can you help me tie my shoes? Just both laces couldn't be further from my feet. Just, can you help me tie my shoes? And she was like, sure. And then she tied both my shoes for me. And then just like that, she pulled the string and untied them both, and I was like, oh. I'd never been betrayed before. It's like, oh, why would you, what's wrong with you? And she was like, no, I've tied your shoes a couple days in a row, and I'm not gonna tie them anymore. We're gonna tie them together. And so for the rest of recess, sat down, tied my shoes over and over again. Until the last time I tied them, I didn't even notice it. And then for the rest of the time I was in elementary school, every time she saw me, and she saw me, shoes tied, she saw that light bulb go off. Oh. And no matter how reluctant someone is to be taught, it's a beautiful thing when that happens. When the idea gets through and you can see it. You see the light bulb go off. Oh, it's round. Who would have thought? You know? And so, I don't know what it's like. I see this move in Duolingo towards AI, and that move towards AI is not to give you, the consumer, a better product. It's not to help the actual teachers who are passionate about people learning other languages so they can make new friends or have new experiences or just open their minds up to how big the world really is. When you understand language and you understand how many different ways there are to say something specifically and how few ways there are to say something very unique, you have an appreciation for communication, right? And that's not what Duolingo is looking to do. They would like to make more money. And it's a business, so to be fair, more money would be nice. That's what you're supposed to do at business. No one shows up to business like, did you make any friends? But that is why they're making that move towards AI. And I see that thing happening in places that do make me worry. Like, I don't know much about the UK school system or anything. I don't know if it's good or bad or how y'all feel about it. I just know the stories that I've been seeing where there are some schools that are looking to introduce and implement AI teachers, like AI taking over the classroom. And I don't know, that really worries me because I think that you need a teacher, you need a person to watch you get it. That's part of the human experience. To watch you get it is great. Being in a classroom that's led by AI has to be like being in a driverless car. And you get in, and they tell you it's safe. They tell you it'll get you where you're going, but you get in, and, you know, maybe they programmed it to make sure it makes the light, but not to speed, you know. But you're in the back seat for some reason. I mean, I guess there's no wheel, so might as well. And you're just looking out the windshield the whole time like, okay, they say this is how you get there, but I've never gone this way before. And now you're just sitting there like, oh, I think you missed the left. Oh. Really nobody to talk to in here, so sort of talking to myself. Oh, that's a bus, that's a bus, that's a bus, that's a bus, that's a bus. Because one thing about being here that that I cannot stress enough, the way y'all's buses move is wildly different than what I'm used to. If I'm being honest, I don't know how you train your bus drivers. Or what happens when a bus driver hits a person, but it looks like they're trying to find out every turn. I was crossing the street to come here, and the bus driver cut the wheel so hard in front of me and looked at me the entire time. But you're in this driverless car, and it says it's going to get you where you're going. And so maybe you should trust it. Who knows? But sometimes prefer a person, you know? I know that we don't necessarily treat everything this way. Like, the best example I can give is when it comes to school and how kids are using ChatGPT and other AI to do their homework for them or do the lesson for them and turn it in. The big fear there is that they will not know how to think to a conclusion, right? Like if we're being honest, and this isn't to disparage what anyone teaches or how they teach it, but a lot of the actual lessons you learn in school don't matter as much as you taking the steps to get to the end product, right? Like, it isn't imperative that you read Mark Twain. But it is good that you read something that is not how the people that you know talk, and it's not from a time that you live in, and it opens up your mind to that the world might be different, you know? And the fear is that if kids use this thing too much, if it's completely abused, that you'll essentially graduate someone who is illiterate and not able to think critically about anything. And they'll be a doctor. And I get that. I get that fear. But you also have to look at it from the perspective of those kids, because they're essentially being told that, look, we try to teach you well so that you can go out to the world and be productive and maybe get a good job. But as far as good jobs, we're like done with those, so you're not gonna get one that's gonna go to AI. But don't use the AI to cheat. You gotta read the whole book slow so we can be impressed by how the AI reads it fast. And so I understand how a lot of kids feel like they don't have stake in the type of future that the work that they're expected to do would link them up with, you know? Like there's this idea that if you do everything right, you'll reap the rewards, but we're already telling you the rewards won't be there by the time you get done. And so I see things like them bringing AI into these UK schools and paying for these programs. You have to ask yourself, is this really coming out of the kindness of someone's heart? Or is this to make money? Is there a company that will make money? And surely there is. Because the programs range in prices. There's one program, though, that is being implemented in a school. I think, I could be wrong about the exact number, but I'm pretty sure that the amount that the program is going to cost the school is like £27,000, which I'm not saying is the best salary in the world, but you could pay that to a person, you know? And it just freaks me out because I only know what it's like in the American school system, which is scary enough, and not just because of the shootings. It's also... it's not because the shoot... I'm saying the American school system is already difficult enough because you have underpaid and overworked teachers that have to take extra jobs and just fight for their lives and then still spend their own money to get supplies for kids to do the work that they're expected to do, right? Just to like stay even slightly above water. So how can you not expect this kid who's already been given less resources than kids in other districts and kids who, you know, by some accident happen to go to a great school or happen to be in a place with money, how can you not expect them to use ChatGPT to get them to close the gap? And how can you not expect these teachers to be like, I already drive Uber, deliver pizza, and teach geography. I don't know if I can try to find the AI. You know? Because you can get really far without knowing. Actually, that's one thing I think about all the time. I don't know if your schools are good or not, but I also don't know if it matters, at least to Americans, because if you come over to the U.S. with your accent, we'll believe you. Like, people in the U.S. fall for the British accent so hard, it's kind of unfair that we were ever number one. Like even a lot of the conspiracy theories that we believe in the U.S., they kind of come from a British guy who just talks smooth. You know, like he comes over after y'all kicked him out for being too wild, and then he's like, you know, there's lizards in all the people. And we're like, when he says it, it makes sense. You know, y'all have some phenomenal exports. But you do have some rough ones. You know? Like, why did y'all do, like, that, sending Piers Morgan to us. It almost constitutes an act of war. I don't know who else you could have sent that Boris Johnson wouldn't have been as destructive as Piers Morgan on our TV all the time. That was... what did we ever do to you? I'd like to think that the UK holds like centuries-long grudges. And I'm like, okay, all right, y'all think you cute. You think you cute, you gonna leave me. Just wait. Wait like 200 years. I'm gonna send the most annoying man that's ever lived to be on 3 of your news stations every day. No? Because it's difficult. I mean, you can get really far without knowing much. That's scary. And that's even before AI. Ask Piers Morgan. You can get so far without knowing anything. In fact, there was a teacher in the US. This blew my mind. This teacher, and look, I'd have to look it up again, but I was throwing it out there. British man. It just sort of backs up my point. This dude taught in the US for 8 years and he couldn't read. He couldn't read. And imagine somebody failing you who can't read. Imagine you turn in your paper and they're like, I don't even know what this says, but it looked wrong. Like, this looks like garbage, man. Nah, really figured it out. This is one of those stories that kind of went semi-viral before virality was like well established. So before YouTube and like things could pop off on Twitter, Facebook, or anything, this dude got his like maybe his master's or something, and started teaching. And I think he was teaching like middle school, and taught middle school for like 8 years. Could never read, but what he would do was he was very good at picking out personalities. This was his talent. This was his thing that he had used his entire life. He could read people. He couldn't read words, but he knew. He knew people so perfectly, he could laser into them, and he knew so much about you just by looking at you. And one of the things he would do every year, every semester, he would lock in on like 2 or 3 of the smartest kids in class. Just naturally smart, just genuinely gifted. And he would have them, you know, read a paragraph or 2 to the class starting the lesson. And then he would basically, watching over them, kind of get the smart kids to teach all the other kids. And it was astounding. That's wild. I'm sure that's what they think the AI will do. I'm sure that's what this dude would lock in, and he'd just see, okay. He'd be like, today, can you read page 11? Can you read page 12? Can you read page 13? And we'll all just take notes in our books as we go, right? As the kids would be taking notes, as the other kids were reading and everything. And one of the things that he said in his defense, he's like, show me where the kids that I taught aren't proficient in what I was teaching. You know, my methods work. And it's fitting that he was teaching middle school too, because middle schoolers are some bullies. A middle schooler is the only one with the real audacity to be like, I don't think he can read. That would never happen in higher education. Like, if you're getting your master's and your professor can't read, you would second guess yourself. You'd be like, no, I must be missing something. He must just be like so locked in that he never looks at the book. No, only a middle schooler would be like, I bet you he can't read, dog. Because a middle schooler will blackmail you too. A middle schooler would be like, hey, look, it's A's for me and my boys the rest of the year. Or we telling everybody you can't read. That's A, as in the first letter. There's A as in the first letter that you can't read because you can't read, okay? If I even see a closed A that look like a B, I'm telling everybody. Imagine that. Imagine getting caught. Imagine principal, vice principal got to pull you into the office. You sitting down, you know, because the kids loved him. He never gave homework. You sitting down, what's going on, y'all? How's everything going? We need to talk to you about something that's a bit troubling. We are hearing, it's honestly hard to even say this out loud. I feel so embarrassed even bringing it up, but there have been some accusations by some students and maybe a few parents as well that that you ooh. Because you gotta think about it. If you're wrong, you look so crazy as the principal. If you're wrong, you look like you believe everything you've ever been told in your life. If you're a principal that drags a teacher into a room to be like, can you read? Like, you hired me. Like, can I read? Principal sitting him down. Okay, look, so there have been some concerns and some accusations by some students and some parents that your literacy is not in the room with us. You know, and I don't know if they would have the teacher in there by himself, but they'd have the kid that accused him of not being able to read because he didn't get the A he wanted. Maybe he's sitting there. Teacher, this is preposterous. You know, words you say when you don't know how to spell it. This is preposterous. Me not be able to read. What how dare you? How absolutely dare you? Kid sitting there. Make him read something. Make him read something. He gonna do it anyway if he can do it. They try to get him to sign his resignation letters. They're like, can you read it? I'm not even gonna dignify that with a response. Kid sitting there, that means no. No? And that's my fear. That's my big fear is that you let the system start, it only benefits companies, and before you know it, it's an entire generation, an entire country of people who aren't proficient in thinking skills. They can't think critically. They're not truly literate. And never mind not just reading for fun. They do not really grasp how important reading is, because you can either cheat the AI or the AI has the best interests of the company in mind. Because that's another thing that was happening with Duolingo. It's just all these ads started popping up, ads for companies, because they're a company that's trying to make money, you know? And so what if that happens? What if you implement so much AI into all of these schools and it goes left? How fast can you train an entire generation of teachers that were burned out and underpaid and overwhelmed to begin with? You know? That means that you could have an entire generation of UK teachers coming to the US not knowing how to read and teaching our kids not to read. Could be a disaster. Never underestimate the power and the impact that a teacher can have on your life. I remember a teacher sat me down and told me something I didn't even know about myself. This teacher sat me down and told me, you got a lot of nervous energy. Like, I can just, and I was like in middle school where you can't even be polite. You just got to get right to the point. Like, they just sat me down. You got a lot of nervous energy. All right? You ever thought of drawing? Just channel it somehow, right? I was like, oh, no. I never thought to draw. I love anime. Yeah, maybe I'll draw. And I drew something. And you know, my teacher was like, draw something, bring it to me. You know, I'd like to see what you draw. And so I did. And when I showed my teacher my drawing, they were like, we're gonna find something else. For you to do with your energy, all right?
We got a great show for y'all. Your headliner, you seen him on The Daily Show. You seen him all over YouTube. I need a lot of energy. Put your hands together, put your hands together, put your hands together, put your hands together. Give it up for Josh Johnson!
I've been taking stock of my friends and what's going on in our lives and everything. And just, I'll say that as men, we collectively don't seem to be doing well. Like, things are rough in lots of different areas, lots of categories. In the jeopardy of men, we are in jeopardy. Near every facet of life feels like more confusing, more difficult to navigate in a way that feels like you are definitely doing the right thing. I do believe that lots of people are doing their best, truly. I just also think that... Okay, as an example, I can't read a map. You give me even if you gave me a map of this building and pointed to where I was right now and told me to get to a specific bathroom, I'm probably gonna end up outside. Like, I cannot seem to read a map. As much as I try, I end up turning it. So I tried to be a Boy Scout for a little while. It was terrible. And because when you try to be a Boy Scout, like when you really trying to go for all the badges at once, everything, and you really not getting anything, you are just being a problem in the woods. And one of the things was like I could not work a compass because I was like it's supposed to go in every time, right? And they were like, no, it's supposed to show you where north is by how it's positioned, but it doesn't have to point north every time. I'm like, oh, okay, because it's dangling. And they were like, well, did you let a magnet touch it or something? And I was like, I don't see what that should have to do with anything. Like, they're like, no, well, the compass works off like the poles of so if you touch it with a magnet, it confuses the... So you got a piece of paper telling me where I am and where I need to get, and then you gave me a cup of metal that points anywhere it wants to. And somehow I'm the one that doesn't know what he's doing. Why are we even in the woods right now? We live inside. Have you ever thought of that? Try as I might, I could not read a map. Even if you laid the thing out, where I needed to go, where I was now, and the way to get there, it's like in practice. I couldn't close that gap in my mind because I knew that the map is a suggestion. It's a good one, but the map doesn't have to do all these steps. Even the compass is a tool, but if it's spinning, we might as well be Pirates of the Caribbean or something. Like, that doesn't... This thing doesn't help me at all. I don't know where it's pointing, and it won't be still. I'm being still, it won't be still. How does that work? Is north moving? Is north on its own journey? Try as I might, I could not seem to read a map, and that is what it feels like to, at least to me, be a man now. There's a map, and the map is laid out with lots of good suggestions, and you even get tools along the way to make sure that you get to where you want to be, which is being a successful man, being a good man, being you know, a respected man. But then in actual practice, walking that road, you're like, look, the paper says. But when I look around, it's tough. It is, especially with love. Like in regards to like love, attraction, seeking someone out and meeting someone you like, trying to take it to another level. It can be difficult because they're if you are, I won't even say good, if you are at least a regular man, bad men have ruined everything for you. And I'm not talking about the like, but I'm a good guy. I'm talking about if you are just a regular tax-paying citizen who doesn't do any crimes and is generally nice to people, maybe a wave. I'm not even talking about a good, outstanding man. If you're just a regular guy, bad men have ruined everything for you already before you got there, right? It's like they showed up in the room right before you and farted. And then you walk in and you can't prove it's not you. But you know it's not you. You know you didn't do anything. And the bad man that farted has already left the room. We're all living in his wake. You know, and it's hard to find the actual bad man sometimes, because you know he's stealthy, he's disguised. You know what I mean? You'd have to follow him around all day. You'd have to follow him every waking minute just to have the proof that he's a bad man. You would. That's why it takes years sometimes to figure people out. You'd have to hunt him down and then take the picture and run into the room and be like, he was eating beans. Those were his farts. You just have guys that maybe don't have someone to tell them how to go about life, like that, whether you call it a father figure or just like friends in general that can be that sort of guiding light of here's how you handle each situation, especially when it comes to dating. Like who you pick to be with is a huge part of your life, because it's gonna be most of your life picking people, you know? And we're not doing fantastic. And I say that as like not from a place of judgment, just from looking around. It's pretty apparent. You know, you look at the internet is fueled with so much anger, like so much hate. A lot of it is resentment for what people don't have or don't feel like they can get, you know, and it leads people to not take care of themselves. One of the most like attractive things you can do is take care of yourself. Just let the water. You know, I can tell exactly how depressed my friends are by how it smells when I walk in their apartment. Do you know what I mean? Like every once in a while you get like a little whiff here and there, and it's like, you just came back from a game of pickup basketball. It's gonna be like that in here. And then sometimes you visit a buddy and you're like, ooh, she left. Yep, she's gone. Like I have friends who, you know, obviously friends that are trying to date everybody across the spectrum. But one thing that I have found as a point of frustration is when people don't listen to me about things that feel they feel pretty apparent. You can take my advice, you cannot take my advice. It doesn't actually affect me. I just want people to be happy, right? And so a good example is like when your friend says he's got a date and that she's coming over, and you're like, here. And then he has the nerve to be like, what? No. You know what? Here is what? What is here? Or then I'll have a conversation, especially, I'll have a conversation with some of the women that I know in my life that will not believe me when I give them advice about men. But I have no ulterior motive. I'm just like, hey, this thing is happening. Just so you know, I'm trying to be helpful. And it's weird because we as people accept a lot of things as an idea, in a big way, right? So you'll hear the old men are dogs, blah, blah, blah. Every man wants one thing. All guys are after the same thing. And those are almost principles that people live by. But then when you tell your friend, hey, that's a dog. And then she's like, no, not Mark. He's so sweet. It's like, what are you doing? We just established that and there's a level of frustration that comes with that when it would be like if someone came to you, right? Like a dog owner came to you and they were like, I don't know why my dog is doing this thing. And then you told them because you're someone who has trained dogs, been around dogs a lot. So you're like, this is why your dog is doing it. Oh, you also in this scenario happen to be a dog. So then you're a dog that's trained dogs and been around dogs all your life, telling someone, because you are a talking dog, you can speak, telling them why this dog is doing that thing. And then they're like, no. That doesn't sound right. But it is. It is. No, not Mark. He's so sweet. I've known him for so long. I'm telling you, that's a dog. Not Mark. Mark is the sweetest. You don't know him like I know him. Like, I don't even know him at all. I know the 4 facts you've told me about Mark, so I know exactly what Mark is trying to do. No, not sweet Mark. I'm like, you need to stop calling him Mark. From now on, his name is Ark. That is a dog. You wouldn't believe the conversations I've had trying to be helpful. You know what I mean? Like, especially in like high school, you know, like college. You know, you try to help your friends and everything. Conversation. Wait, you mean to tell me that this guy is just hanging around me and secretly wants to be with me and is willing to be friends with me for years just so that he might have a chance, be my friend throughout all of my other relationships, and likes to go on these, like, not quite dates, but mini dates where we go to the movies together and then we get dinner and then we go back to my place and hang out and then fall asleep together? You mean to tell me that that guy is trying to be with me? He thinks about being with me all the time. He wants to hang out with me more even. He always seems a little sullen and slow to text back when I start dating a new guy, but that's just because he's busy. There's no way that he wants to be with me. And then I have to be like, yeah, what do you think I'm doing? Oh, it's tough. And one of the things that makes one of the things that makes it tough for like boys, but especially young men, is that there isn't a sort of roadmap, and I don't expect there to be, because like human connection is so nuanced, and what people mean to each other is going to be different by a different degree for every person. But I think that in like popular culture and as a general narrative, we have started to just straight up vilify a man's attraction in general. And it's something that I don't know how you recover from if that's the narrative that's out there. And I understand why people are hesitant. It's a thin line. It's a very thin line to walk as a dude who is attracted to someone and trying to act on that thing. Try and let them know you're interested, trying to make the first move. It's a tightrope, and it's scary to do. Not just because rejection is scary, but the thing you do next will determine how they feel about you probably forever. There's not a lot of going back you can do if you're friends and then you try to be more, or if you shoot your shot with a person you don't even know. All that stuff takes a lot of bravery. And it's not always going to be done right, especially when you're young, you're making mistakes, you know? Like, I remember in class, my buddy, he had the biggest crush on this girl. Oh, and we're young, and he didn't know what to do with all that pent-up energy, so he's daydreaming, and he starts drawing her. Decides to draw her, and draws a beautiful picture of her, right? Like, got her hair as if it was blowing in the wind, got her face perfect. He was a really, really talented artist, right? So he drew her, and he drew him. And then, just by happenstance, because he was so lost in it, he didn't catch that the bell had rung. And so we're all getting up, we're all leaving, and then she passes his desk. She sees it. And she's like, hey, is that me? And he has to be like, oh, yeah. And he had drawn her so beautifully. She was genuinely touched. She was like, that's amazing. You're so talented. Oh my gosh, that's beautiful. And I don't know, I think she was just so taken aback because none of us knew he could draw that well, you know? And so she was like, can I have it? And he was like, yeah. And he was leaning on his desk right next to where he was finishing up some touches on her. And he's like, yeah, but now he doesn't want to move. Because he also drew him next to her. And he drew a version of him that is unrecognizable. He drew a version of him with abs. Y'all, we're 13. He drew a version of him with abs, with boulder shoulders, like truly looking like an anime character, just jacked, top to bottom, knuckles jacked, everything. Had the big old muscle behind the ear, everything. Hair flowing too, hair almost as good as hers. But you know, people are walking out and he already said that she could have it. And so she's like, can I have it? And he's like, oh, yeah. Leans up a little bit, and so she finally sees the other side and she's like, oh. Is that you? And my man sat there and was like, oh, nah, like that's just the, you know, type of dude I want you to find. You know what I mean? Like somebody that, you know what I mean, like you really deserve, you know what I mean? Like you know, just somebody you might meet one day who's right in front of you. Because so much of attraction is about timing. We don't give timing enough credit. There's all this stuff like if one guy does one thing and another guy does the same thing, and the woman goes for one of the guys is because he's more attractive and the other guy's creepy, or we've seen this sort of narrative play out over and over again. But what we don't talk about in those situations is the timing. When did this person say this thing? When did this person say this thing? When did this person do this thing? When did the other person do it? You know, so much of attraction is about timing. And I've talked to my friends and I've asked them before. I'm like, what are you even looking for in like a guy? And I'm like, oh, I just want like an honest guy. And I was like, I'm gonna stop you right there. Because so many men are such freaks that you really gotta parse out the honesty over time. Some people think that omission is dishonesty, right? But omission might be why you're in a relationship. Because if you knew top to bottom who they were immediately, it might make you hesitate. I'm not saying lie. I'm not saying be a liar. I'm saying that, like, honesty comes to a point. Like, let's say you meet someone. You meet someone that you very much like, and maybe it's just off of the connection, seeing each other from across the room. He walks over and he says to you, plainly, hi, my name, right? I don't know you, but I'd like to. Would you have dinner with me? I think that we could have a really good time. You know what I mean? You see that thing alone? I feel like that's almost perfect. That's like out of a movie, right? But an honest man, a truly honest man, walks up to you. Honest from the bottom of his heart. Doesn't know how to lie. It doesn't come naturally to him. An honest man walks up to you and says, hi, I just noticed you, and I know I don't know you, but I'd like to. And I'd love to take you out sometime, if that's okay. And I'll suck your toes if you let me. Do you see where he should have stopped? Do you see where a certain amount of honesty was too much? It was true in both cases, but one guy had the common sense to stop talking at a certain point. Honesty is important. Honesty is very important. But I also think if you're being honest with a person and you're being self-aware at the same time, there are things that you omit on the front end until you get to know them. Some people think omission is lying, but I think omission timed well is like the appropriate time to tell someone something. You start dating a guy, maybe it's going really well. Maybe it's a week, 2 weeks in, slept over a few times. You wake up, you roll over, he's like waking up as well, and it's like, hey, you want breakfast? I make some mean pancakes. Perfect. Wake up next to an honest man. You're waking up. You roll over, he's waking up. It's like, hey, you hungry? I make some mean pancakes, and I've actually been awake for an hour. I was just smelling your hair. Been dating somebody for a little bit. You're texting, Oh, how you doing? Oh, I'm good. How are you? I'm good. Miss you. Miss you too. Oh, how'd you sleep last night? Oh, slept okay. You have any dreams? Yeah, actually I did. What'd you dream about? Dreamed about you. Good place to stop. Fantastic place to stop. This is where you stop. Hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm good. How are you? Oh, I'm good. Yeah. Just, waking up. Oh, you have any dreams? Yeah. Yeah, I dreamed. What did you dream about? Oh, I dreamed about you. Oh, really? Yeah, I dreamed about you, and we went on a vacation together, and then we actually had this like whole vacation plan. We were in like the Virgin Islands, and then I got us this like surfing lesson because we had talked on the day about how we want to surf. I don't know why I was dreaming about surfing, but I dreamed that we were doing this like surfing lesson together, and then like the surf instructor was like kind of hitting on you a little bit, and then like you were able to surf really well, like you took to it like a duck to water, and I was like over here falling all the time, and because you were doing so well he was giving you extra tips, so he basically spent the entire lesson just giving you attention and everything, and then I was like fighting to not drown and just sort of laying on the board the whole time and everything, and then afterwards, after the lesson was over, he like slipped you his number, and so then we went to dinner, and while we were waiting on our food, I was like, oh, I'll be right back, and then I left the restaurant and I tracked him down, and I had a little conversation with him about trying to steal people's girlfriends during surfing lessons, if that's something that he really does, and if he does it often. He's like, no, and I'm like, yeah, and then we took another little surfing lesson. We took a little trip down to the beach, and I just sort of pushed his, where the sand and the water sort of splash, where the wet sand was, I just sort of pushed his head into the water until the tide was sort of going over it, and so I couldn't really tell if there were bubbles or not because there's so much wet sand and everything, but I just sort of held it there until he stopped struggling, and then I woke up. I think it's important to be honest. I do. I just think it's important to be self-aware, too. I'm not saying be a liar. I'm just saying, like, check yourself. Check in with yourself. Know who you are. You know what I mean? Know what that's going to sound like, depending on the timing. Timing is everything. It's so important. When I was in high school, my boy, he finally asked this girl out that he had had a crush on for a couple years, right? Finally just went for it. Something about summer just made him a new man. Asked her out, and she said yes. Oh, we're off to a great start. Asked her out, asked her to a movie. Asked her to a movie, and she said she wanted to see Spider-Man. Okay, great choice. Phenomenal date. We both like Spider-Man. We don't have a lot of life experience. We're crossing over heavily. So he said he'd take her to see Spider-Man. Take her to the movies to see Spider-Man. That was their date. What she didn't know, what he did, was he didn't just buy their tickets to see Spider-Man. He bought out the theater. And timing is everything. Because they get there, and sitting down, lights get low, previews even start, and she was like, wow, I thought other people want to see Spider-Man. I thought it was a pretty popular movie. And then he turns to her. With a biblical lack of self-awareness. After she says, I thought other people would have been in the theater, with us wanting to see Spider-Man. I've been hearing about it all week. He turns to her and he goes, oh, I made sure nobody would be here. Why even word it like that? What are you doing? He said that as soon as he said it, he saw the look on her face. He said it felt like she was waiting the whole movie for Spider-Man to rescue her. And that's why timing is so important. Because depending on when you do something like that, depends on how it comes off. This is a first date. Do you know what I mean? Even there are some people who would find that sort of gesture romantic if you said, oh, I'll take you to see Spider-Man. And I'll make sure we get our own private theater. Ooh, okay. That's different. But saying I'm gonna take you to see Spider-Man and not telling her no one else will be there, even as you sit down, they have the popcorn, the drinks, everything. Middle of the movie, makes his move, tries to put that arm around her, right? And because there was so much room in the theater, she did sit one seat away. Because once he said it, I don't think, he just couldn't save it. There was no aspect of the rest of the movie where he wasn't like, you're locked in here with me. He said he had to keep turning to her the whole movie when stuff would happen, be like, crazy. It's wild, right? You know. Oh. And so it can feel sometimes a bit hard to find your footing when it comes to attraction, because everyone, from the people closest to you to the people far away, feel far away. If you don't really know how to connect, and especially now, we've built a sort of like scary parasocial connection with people that we're attracted to that they can't possibly know on the other end. And then it comes out in comments online, it comes out sometimes in whole articles. There's a line between like fascination and then crossing over into something pretty weird. I don't know if y'all saw, but apparently Sydney Sweeney, the actress Sydney Sweeney, is going to be selling bars of soap that contain her bathwater. Now, if you don't know who Sydney Sweeney is, she is an actress that is like, not just like an A-list actress, she is her generation's like top bombshell. Like, people have been freaking out and lusting over Sydney Sweeney for a long time. And it's pretty creepy. It's
Legatus really planning to take another tilt at the Eorzea?
Hey, what hole have you been hiding in? We're in the midst of preparing for a new campaign, and a huge one at that.
But I thought the Emperor had given up the Western lands for lost after Carteneau. What could the Legatus possibly hope to gain by acting alone?
I sense you harbor certain doubts over the wisdom of the Legatus' plan.
My lord!
Please, call me Nero. Tell me, where were you born?
Awesome, my lord.
Alamigo, my lord.
Ah, codename Hummingway, I presume.
I don't know what you...
Silence. Your denials will not change your fate. I assure you, Frumentarium sees all. Clean up this mess, and do not miss any, or I shall be most displeased.
At once, my lord.
Garland, soon you will be made to know the true power of Magitech.
I did not expect the Gridanian envoy to be an adventurer. It speaks highly of your character that the Elder Seedseer would choose an outsider to represent her nation's interests. This way. I bid you welcome. I am Melvin Blufisville, Admiral of Limsa Luminsa, and Commander of the Maelstrom. Now, what news from the Black Shroud?